Good morning, my dear friends. Today we're going to speak about the revolution. Have you witnessed the 25th January revolution? What were the reasons for that revolution? Hunger, poverty, sickness, ignorance, oppression. All these things can cause a revolution to happen. The revolution means hunger and oppression. That results in anger. When people reach the boiling point of anger, there must be a revolution. After the revolution, there must be new laws and revenge. Your novel is called A Tale of Two Cities. It speaks about the French Revolution which took place in France many years ago. But the reasons are the same. The results are the same. What were the reasons for the French Revolution? At that time, 1775, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. All these contradictions, antonyms, opposites, speak about the gap between the life of the mobs and the peasants and the life of the aristocrats and the nobles. The mobs and the peasants were living in poverty, sickness, oppression, illness, and the nobles and the aristocrats were living in luxury and comfort. So it was the best of times for the nobles and the worst of times for the mobs. The age of wisdom for the nobles. The age of foolishness and the ignorance for the mobs or the peasants. It was the spring of hope for the nobles, the aristocrats, and it was the winter of despair for the mobs or the peasants. These words were said by Charles Dickens at the beginning of the novel, describing the contradictions of people and life at the time. The aristocrats who were living in comfort and luxury, and the peasants and common people who were living in poverty and misery. There was a wide gap between their lives, which resulted in the French Revolution. Let's have a look upon a short movie which describes that gap. As you see, this is the chateau in which the aristocrats and the nobles used to live. It was a splendid one, a wonderful, great palace. Chateau means palace, with tall towers. And this one is called Monsieur Marquise. He belonged to the ruling family which called the Marquise. They used to wear a wig upon their head. As you see, he wore expensive clothes and his carriage was a comfortable one. These are the tall towers of the chateau, and look at these miserable people, sick people, hungry people under these tall towers. This is the gap which I talked about. These peasants, these mobs looked like wild animals. They were hungry. Shops sold only bad and cheap things. They knew nothing but black bread and death. They sought nothing but revenge from the nobles and the aristocrats, who seized everything for themselves. They didn't care about their problems, although they were the ruling family. Look at this child. He is looking for something to eat. He's too hungry. He had to steal. he had to steal food because he was hungry. And that courage will now pass over him, and he will die. He will die on his way to find something to eat. Look carefully. He stole something to eat, and boys are quarreling and fighting, and the carriage now will pass over his little body and he will die. Look. Watch now the reaction of the aristocrat, the nobleman. He reacted as if he broke something common and paid for it. He was much concerned with his horses, not the little dead boy. He threw a gold coin to the little boy's father as compensation. He reacted as if he broke a glass and paid for it. That indicates the oppression. Oppression. Now, I'll show you a master scene from the novel, the master scene of the broken cask of wine, to prove that these miserable people were living in poverty, hunger, and ignorance. Look and listen to me. One day, a broken cask of wine was dropped, and everywhere was stained by the red wine. These miserable people reacted as wild animals. All of them left their business and they tried to get some free drops of that wine. They considered that a gift from God, wine for free. They could swallow the muddy wine. The muddy wine, yes, they could swallow it because actually they didn't know the true taste of wine, because they were too poor to buy it. That master scene indicates how poor they were, how ignorant. This is Gaspard, the father of the little boy which had died. He wrote that word blood on the wall as a foreshadow, as a hint. Every place was stained by the red wine would be later stained with the red blood of the mobs, of the aristocrats and the nobles. These miserable people would take revenge after the revolution. As I told you before, revolution means new laws and revenge. Now, to sum up again, the people of Paris, especially Saint Antoine, could no longer stand to live in hunger, poverty, sickness, misery, ignorance, and oppression. Their hearts were filled with hatred towards the nobles who seized everything for themselves. The mobs knew nothing but death and black bread. The mobs reached the boiling point of anger, which turned into a bloody revolution. They sought nothing but revenge. They didn't show the nobles any mercy, as they hadn't been shown any mercy before. The master scene of the broken cask of wine is a symbol for the people's poverty and ignorance. It provides a moment of happiness in the life of the oppressed mobs. They considered that for free drops of wine a gift from God. They could swallow the muddy wine as they hadn't tasted it before, and they hadn't known its true taste. I hope you will understand well, and please finish the homework and show me it tomorrow. Thank you. Goodbye.